Welcome back to BetSafe's official preview of the Autumn Internationals. We're into our final week. Let me introduce our guest, 3 times British and Irish Lion, top try scorer for Wales, Shane Williams. Hi Shane, how are you doing?
Good, very good.
How's your weekend been?
Okay, Wales won, so it's a positive. Good weekend of rugby, enjoyed it. We're getting very festive, nice and ready, nice and early for Christmas.
And what did you make of the weekend? We could start with Wales. What do you think?
Yeah, start with Wales. I think better performance. I think they had a more experienced team out. I think we spoke about before. I think they had 1,050 caps in our Welsh squad. South Africans had 260, I think. So it was a very inexperienced South African team. I would have been very disappointed if Wales would have won that. Would have lost that. Sorry. With that kind of experience, but it was better. It was better than it was against Japan. Far less mistakes. Some great individual performances. I thought Gethin Jenkins was great. Justin Tipuric was class out of this world, and we needed him. Set up a try and scored the other, and just number of turnovers throughout the game.
Is that back road to stay, do you think?
I'm a big fan of Justin Tipuric. There's no surprise there really. I think if Justin Tipuric's fit, he's one of the first names on the team sheet for me. I know his contestant is Sam Warburton, but who is the captain for Wales, was always very difficult. But if you can get both them players on the field at the same time, I think they're a massive asset. So positive, move on. Six Nations coming up.
And the All Blacks took on France. How did you see that game?
I think it was a lot more difficult than the All Blacks had anticipated.
France played some good rugby.
France played some really good rugby. They're always New Zealand's bogey side. There's no surprise there. However, I think just the power and the strength in depth with New Zealand, Sean in the end, Barrett again, playing extremely well when he was on the field. They're the best team in the world for a reason at the moment, and when the going gets tough, they manage to get this extra gear. So it was a tough game. It was always tough, like I say, against France, but the best team won, and they finished the tour on a positive. They'd still be disappointed they lost in Chicago, but they finished on a high.
Before we move on to our final game, which is England-Australia, let's talk about the England-Australia. Let's talk about the Australian game against Ireland. Ireland managed to take the win. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, Ireland doing typically what Ireland do well. They stop other teams from playing. It sounds easy, but it's the most difficult thing in the world to do. They change teams to resort to play the way Ireland want to do, and that's how Ireland win their big games. I was watching. I think they were 17-0 up at one point, and I thought, they could potentially put another 17 points on Australia the way they were playing, control the game from the start. But in typical Aussie fashion, they came back in the end again. Quadrani on the score sheet again, and it was a close one right to the end, 27-24. Great game, but I think the Irish did deserve the win and finished the autumn series on a high. And it's great for them as well, because they'd be going into the Six Nations. Everyone would have gone into the Six Nations, worrying about England. But I think they're level paring with England at the moment, and those two games will be fascinating in the Six Nations.
England, Australia. Where do the threats lie in that Australian team? We know the back line, Quadrani.
Yeah. Throughout, I think there's some of the best players in the world play for Australia. The likes of Pocock, Hooper, Quadrani at the moment is the form centre in the world. He's scoring tries. He's scored in every game so far on tour, so he's playing with confidence. But yeah, they're not a bad side. They were criticised heavily in the championship. Heavy losses to the likes of New Zealand, but they're still a very good side. With some potential spate as well. We haven't seen much of on the wing. I've played against. I know he's a good player. So they've got strength and depth. They really have. What they've shown is that they've got character as well. Tough game against Scotland, they come through and win that. Tough game against France, I think it was, they come through and win that. Nearly come back in the end against Ireland in Dublin. So they are a side that won't give up on the weekend. England probably wasn't their best performance against Argentina. Didn't help that Daly got sent off right at the start of that match. Always knocks you off your game plan. But showed their class and won it quite comfortably in the end with their 14 men. So it's going to be a big game. I think England will be far too strong for Australia. It'll still be very close because Australia just don't give up. But I see England winning that game.
Any potential try scorers in the England squad that we should be putting our money on?
Well, May seems to be able to find his way to the try line at the moment. He's always a danger. I think I always bet on the backs, but less. The odds are far less, but certainly more chance of them scoring. May for me would be a try scorer. Brown at full back as well always seems to find his way over the try line. And like I say, he's a player that's been playing well for England for some time. England potential try scorers all over the park, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as the other games they've played in.
Do you think it's going to be a big score? Do you think there'll be lots of points either way?
You've got two teams who have the potential of scoring a lot of points, but I think you've got two good defences as well. So, it's got a potential of being the same kind of scoreline as the Ireland game. I think the game itself will be very similar. Control up front, and then when you earn the right, you can play wide. So yeah, I think potential. Two teams have certainly got the potential of scoring 20 points each, but I think it'll be very close. A similar scoreline, so perhaps 18-24, something along those lines.
To England?
To England, yes.
And what a success England have had on the whole.
Well, yeah, unbeaten so far under Eddie Jones. Complete flip around from the World Cup. Heavily criticised the way they played, the team they were picking and the squad. But Eddie Jones has come on board. He's had the he's had the reins. He's done exactly what he's wanted to do. Hasn't changed much personnel. It's just changed the captain. Dylan Hartley, who I think has been a godsend for England since he's been made captain. His discipline has been fantastic.
Do you think he'll be potentially Lions captain, maybe?
Yeah, I do. I think if you'd have asked me 6 months ago, I'd have said no chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a far better player as a captain. Like I say, his discipline is far better. He controls his play as well, and they seem to want to play for him, and that's all you need. It's simple. If you've got all the players underneath you that believe and trust your captain, the rest is easy.
Which games do you think you've seen throughout the last 5 weeks have shocked you the most? It's on the tip of my tongue. We know which.
Well, the Japan game against Wales certainly shocked me. It shocked me because not because how Japan played and how they played with ball in hand, but how clever they boxed them. They knew exactly what Wales were bringing to the table. Japan spread the whole defence line because they knew Wales wanted to play wide. So in that sense of it, the game plan, and Joseph and Filatiti had the game plan spot on and shocked me in that sense. But also was very shocked the way Wales played and in a bad way, obviously. So that was a game really that shocked me. But I think the Ireland win out in Chicago against the All Blacks was a big shock to a lot of people. I'm a big fan of the Irish and the way they play. However, I just didn't see New Zealand coming on tour and losing, if I'm completely honest. So that was a huge shock to the rugby world, and certainly give Ireland the confidence to go on and play really well in these autumn series. So that was a big shock for World Rugby. And
using what we've seen so far, how do you think the Six Nations will pan out?
Well, Wales have got this uncanny knack really of not playing well and going on and winning Grand Slams and Six Nations. So don't rule them out. But I think the form teams of the autumn were England have got a game left, but Ireland certainly, the shock win against the All Blacks, proved a lot of people wrong, gave them massive confidence moving into the Six Nations now, unbeaten. Obviously lose to New Zealand at home, but then go unbeaten. So they're going to have huge confidence going on. But I think England are still the team to beat, really. They just
you have to call a winner for the Six Nations right now?
I think I'd go with England because of the strength and depth they have, the momentum they have. Obviously, they've still got a game left against Australia. That's a big game, because if England lose that, losing the last game going into the Six Nations can psychologically affect you as well. But I don't see them losing that. I just think they're a happy camp at the moment. Even when they're not playing particularly well, they're still scoring points, scoring tries, and still winning games. So that's a sign of a good team. So I'd back England on the Six Nations. And
as I understand, Wales have got 1 or 2 games before they meet England. I think they've got Italy.
Yeah. I'm glad they're not playing England straight away. Wales have got this. When I was playing as well, we always start very slow in the Six Nations. The Grand Slams we've won are because we've won big games in our first Six Nations match. But I'm glad we've got a couple of games for England, because I think they're going to have to be match fit. They're going to have to be ready. They're going to have to get into their stride and understand the pattern and the rugby they want to play. But I think it's going to be a really tough Six Nations. I think Scotland have played particularly well. It really put Georgia to the sword. I know people are going to say, well, it was Georgia, but it's still a very physical, tough side, and it took Scotland a while to get into that game. So yeah, Scotland are going to be very dangerous as well. The likes of England, of course, we've spoken about, and Ireland are flying high at the moment with big wins in their autumn series, and Wales have won 3 out of 4 as well, so it's not all doom and gloom.
A success, successful series.
But it is a success because you look at the stats end of the day, and you know, you take every win you get really in international rugby this day and age, because all the games are very tough. So there's a number of teams really that can win the Six Nations, but England would be the favourites, I think.
Well, thank you so much, Shane. I hope that's been enough expert advice for you to place your bets this weekend ahead of England, Australia. That's our final. Goodbye from me.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Take care now. Bye-bye.